Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Tess. Welcome to Temple Beth Tikva. It's a little loud, guys. Rabbi Nico is on the East Coast in Boston. It's 80 degrees here during the day. With a delegation from our congregation at the URJ Biennial, the Union for Reform Judaism Biennial. And so it is my honor and privilege to be leading our service tonight along with Gabby and Sarah. And we hope you will join us in all the prayers. This is not a concert, this is a service. So please be part of what we are doing. We begin our service with the lighting of Shabbat candles on page 120, and we're going to ask our Gesher families to come to the bima and welcome Shabbat with us. The big people will hold the candle, and our smaller people will say the blessing.
And after the blessing of the candles, they will be performing a little Hanukkah song to bring us all into the Hanukkah spirit. It's a little early, but it's never too early.
It's about miracles. It's always good.
You're helping to light the Shabbat candles.
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Ari.
Amitai.
Here, come get in your line. Come get in your line.
Wait. Go back to the Shabbat candles for just a minute. Go back to the Shabbat candles.
Pictures while we're doing all honey scenes. Hey, line up right here. You can get pictures while they're... In your line, Charlie. Where'd you stand in your line? Everybody on that top step. Scoot over. Here. Beautiful.
Toda Rabah. And Shabbat Shalom. Please feel free to stay for the service. Our service continues on page 121.
What?
121.
No, 130. What?
Note in the
Oh,
photo.
Dodie Lee. Oh, sorry, we didn't do Dodie Lee. That's right. Dang. Oh, wait. No, 129.
Okay, we're going to go right to 129 with Dodie Lee. You're right. Sorry.
Dodie Lee, ani lo haroe bashoshanim.
Come, let us sing joyously to Adonai, Lechu Naranana on page 130, leading right into Shir Ladonai on page 131.
Lechu Naranana, Ladonai, Nariya, Letzur Yishenu, Nekat Mafanav, Vetoda, Vizmirot, Nari Halom. Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai, Kol
sing to God a song with lyre, with flute, with all kinds of beautiful instruments, and including our voices. Zamru Ladonai Bechinor, page 134.
Zamru Ladonai Bechinor, Bechinor, Bekol Zimra, Bechatzotrot, Bekol Shofar, Arihu Lifnei HaMelech Adonai, Yiram Hayam Tevel veyoshvei ba, Aidai neharot imcha uchaf, chaf yachad arim yiraneinu, Nifnei Adonai kibar, lishmot haaretz, yishpot tevel betzedek, ve'amim ve'meisharim. Yiram hayam tevel veyoshvei ba, Aidai neharot imcha chaf, chaf yachad harim yiraneinu, chaf yachad harim yiraneinu.
We continue with Lecha Dodi, welcoming Shabbat as if she were a bride. We will do the first, second, fourth, fifth, and ninth verses. And when we get to the ninth verse, we will symbolically rise and face the door as if to welcome the Sabbath bride. Lecha Dodi, page 138.
Ya la 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 la, Lecha Dodi. Ya la 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 la, Likrat Kala. Ya la 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 la, Penei Shabbat, Penei Shabbat, Nekabel Alayalay. Ya la 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 la, Lecha Dodi. Ya la 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 la, Likrat Kala. Ya la 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 la, Penei Shabbat, Penei Shabbat, Nekabel Alayalay. Shamor v'zachor, b'dibur echad, ishmi'anu el ha'meyuchad, Adonai echad, u'shmo echad, L'shemo tiferet, v'nitila. Ya elai lai, ya la 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 la, Lecha Dodi. Ya la 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 la, Likrat Kala. Ya la 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 la, Penei Shabbat, Penei Shabbat, Nekabel Alayalay. Ya la 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 la, Lecha Dodi.
have welcomed Shabbat, it's time to welcome each other. And so let's take just a moment, and you may get up, you may walk around, welcome somebody, wish a Shabbat Shalom to those who you don't know maybe, those who you've seen in the last week, those who are new friends. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. I don't think it's just Gesher. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. That's very sweet. That's very kind of you to say. I've been encouraged to do those. Hey, Tess. No, you have to use the stair speed. Thank you. Thank you.
We continue our service on page 140, Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat.
Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat Tov Le'odot Adonai Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות עלי עזור ועלי נבל עלי היגיון וחינוך צדיק כתמר יפרח כארז בלבנון יזכה שתולים בבית אדוני בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו עוד ינובון בשיבה דשנים ורעננים יהיו להגיד כי ישר אדוני צורי ולא עוולת עוון.
We separate our Kabbalat Shabbat, our welcoming Shabbat prayers, with the Arvit LeShabbat, with Chatzi Kaddish, page 144.
יתגדל ויתגדל שמי רבה בעמד יפרח חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומייכון ובחייך בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי קודשו בריחו לילה מן כה בחטא ושירתה תוש בחטא ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן.
We rise for the Baruch Hu, page 146. together in the middle of page 148 in the English.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim.
Ahavat Olam, page 150.
Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta. Torah, mitzvot, chokim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta. Aken Adonai Eloheinu, b'shochbeinu u'b'komeinu, nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei toratecha, u'b'mitzvotecha, le'olam va'ed. Ki הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל.
You know, there are times in life when we think about theology. Very often when I'm driving with my almost 4.5-year-old granddaughter, she asks me theological questions. She has a favorite CD that has the story of Pharaoh on it, and so she wants to know, why was Pharaoh mean? And then she asks me, because there's another song having to do with God, what's the difference between God and Pharaoh? Because they're both in charge. And so we talk about the personality of someone like a Pharaoh versus the personality of someone like God. And she says, but God wears a pink fairy dress, and it goes on and on. And so we talk about, how do we know that God is there? She said, because there are flowers on the trees, and because we are here. And so, for a 4.5-year-old,
Wow.
whose mother told me once that she knew where my mother was after she was gone, because when you die, you stand on a cloud and keep moving back until you come back down as a baby. Theology takes many forms, and it starts very young. And in Judaism, we have but one theological statement. It is spread over pages 152 and 153. We are witnesses to the oneness of God. The minute we try and describe what God is, we limit God. So it's easier for us to say what God is not. But we are witness to all that God is. And in the Shema, you can see one of the letters is bigger than the other in the first word, and then on the opposite page, the last letter is also bigger. Those are the Ayin and the Dalet. And together, those two letters come to a word, aid, which means witness. And so we witness all that God does for us, all that God is for us. We close our eyes and we imagine the things that we witness that give us our God.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Together we read in the middle of page 154. The Ve'ahavta is part of the Shema, and it tells how we give experience to that witnessing of what God is. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand, and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall love,
remember to observe all my commandments,
and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God. Adonai Elohechem emet.
We read together silently on page 156. When your children witnessed your dominance, they praised your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices joyously.
Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael.
After we sing of our freedom, we take freedom in lying down each night with the trust that we will awaken in the morning with peace. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu.
Sometimes I lay under the moon and thank God I'm breathing. Then I pray, don't take me soon, 'cause I am here for a reason.
people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time.
We need a seal.
I'm sorry.
Quick sealing. Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim.
Amen. So let us read together in the middle of page 162.
The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time. It is a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days Adonai made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day God ceased from work and was refreshed.
Vishamru, page 162.
Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat na'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam.
We rise for the tefillah on page 164 as we approach God with the Adonai Sfatai, and then we will continue through the end of the tefillah silently.
Adonai, Sfatai tiftach, ufi yagid teilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, let my mouth declare your praise.
just going to watch to make sure we got off to a good start, and then he's going to turn it off.
We hope.
We add to our prayers the blessing for healing, page 371. We ask for healing of both body and soul. If there is somebody whose name you wish to mention, please, we'll go around the room, add their names to our prayers.
Sue McManus.
For those mentioned, those we carry in our hearts, we sing together the Misha Berach, page 371. May God be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit. And let us say, Amen. Well, I told Gabby that tonight I was going to have her just sing the Devar Torah, because tonight is what we would remember as Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. That's this week's Parsha. But she turned me down because I didn't give her quite enough notice. So maybe next week, next year, next century.
Are you talking to me?
No, never mind. Thanks to Tim Rice and Andrew Lloyd Webber, though, most of us, if not all of us, are familiar with the story. Way, way back many centuries ago, not long, there you go. Jacob lived a fine example of a family man. Thank you. There you go. Granted, the writers took some liberties with the text. Whether Jacob was a fine example of a family man is up for debate when you read the details of his life. But his love for Rachel gave us the main character of the musical, Joseph. And because of that love, Joseph was favored by his father more than his other brothers. And so, Dad bought his beloved Joseph a special gift, a colorful garment. The jealousy that ensued caused the brothers to scheme against Joseph, throwing him into the pit, selling him, with Joseph paving the way for his family and those who came after him to live in Egypt. But we'll talk more about life in Egypt in the weeks to come. There's a recurring theme here having to do with sibling rivalry. You may remember that a few weeks ago we learned of the birth of Jacob and Esau and how Jacob's mother Rebekah helped to trick Isaac in order to acquire the birthright for Jacob. If turnabout is fair play, it's now time for Jacob to be tricked by his children as they lie about what happens to Joseph. And just as a garment provided the vehicle for Isaac to be deceived, here again, it is the garment that causes a problem and fuels the fire. Many commentators have noted that clothing and the disguises it provides are dominant motifs of the story. From Joseph's coat of many colors to the clothing Mrs. Potiphar rips off him, to the outfit he's given when summoned from the dungeon to interpret Pharaoh's dreams, Joseph, it seems, is always either disguised or busy looking like someone he is not. It is no coincidence that this Torah portion occurs as we anticipate the arrival of Hanukkah in the week ahead. We're all familiar with the story. The Syrian Greek tyrant Antiochus outlaws the practice of Judaism and forces our ancestors to worship their Greek gods and subscribe to the prevailing philosophy of Hellenism. What many don't know is that Hellenism originally took root in the Jewish community during the Second Temple era through simple exposure to another people's culture and belief system. Yes, it ended up being imposed upon us, but before that, Jews under Greek rule were giving up Judaism on their own. How are we supposed to deal with outside influences? Must we seclude ourselves to ensure we preserve our own Torah way of life? Some Hasidic and other such groups believe this is the way to go. Many of us perhaps consider ourselves too enlightened to do that, but the American Jewish community has a serious assimilation problem today. You can see it in the many Christmaka gifts you can now buy for Jewish people celebrating both Christmas and Hanukkah. This issue is not simply an ancient one. How does Torah teach us to deal with this great challenge? Parshat Vayeshev, this week's Torah portion, in which the story of Joseph begins to unfold, sheds some light on the issue. After Joseph is sold into slavery and imprisoned, he is fetched from jail and brought before Pharaoh to interpret his dreams. Instead of begging and pleading for his freedom, Joseph invokes God's name, and to Pharaoh of all people. When Pharaoh tells Joseph, "They say you can explain people's dreams," Joseph responds, "It is not me, rather it is God who interprets dreams." After Pharaoh then relates his two dreams, Joseph again responds, "What God is going to do, he has already told Pharaoh." A few verses later, Joseph says, "What God is going to do, he has already told Pharaoh." Joseph does not hide who he is or what he believes in. He stands before Pharaoh in polytheistic Egypt and invokes his belief in the one and only God. In all the time Joseph is in Egypt, he continues to identify and to live as a Jew, as the son of Jacob. Our sages teach that Joseph kept a demut yonku, the image of his father Jacob, and the traditions of his family alive, and it never seemed to hold him back. On the contrary, the more Joseph invokes God's name, the more successful he becomes. To this day, we bless our sons on Shabbat to be like Joseph's two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, the first Jews to be raised in exile and in a foreign land, but who were raised in a uniquely Jewish way. Our sages teach that when Jacob and Joseph were reunited, Jacob studied Torah each and every day with his grandsons, and so we bless our children that they grow up in the same way, even as they are exposed to different cultures and ideas. When we look at Joseph's life, we see someone clearly involved in the outside world, who contributed to the greater good outside of his own people. Joseph saved thousands of lives in Egypt and the surrounding areas by predicting a famine and executing a food saving and distribution plan. Throughout, he maintained himself as a devoted Jew by being proud of who he was and by not being ashamed of his roots and heritage. At the end of the day, Pharaoh made Joseph viceroy because he saw great talent. The fact that he had a different belief system didn't impede his success. On the contrary, people saw him as a person of conviction, which developed for him even more respect. Joseph's life teaches that we can be part of a greater society and still maintain our distinct Jewish way of life, that to remain faithful to our observances, we do not have to seclude ourselves from outside influences. But it's not easy. Living in both a secular and Jewish world poses serious challenges. And if there's any time that highlights this challenge here in America, it's at the end of December, during the Hanukkah Christmas time, when too many of our Jewish brothers and sisters seem to have the same feeling for both of these holidays. One of the great Jewish historical mistakes was thinking that the more we become like everyone else, the more respected and accepted we would be. Jews under Greek rule said the same thing. The more Greek, the more Hellenist we become, the more cultured and sophisticated we will be seen, and ultimately, the more accepted we will be. History has taught us just the opposite. Our non-Jewish neighbors learn to respect our Judaism when they see what we do. That's why Joseph became a success and why everything he touched turned to gold. God was with him in every step of his life because he never forgot who he was, where he came from, and what his father Jacob had taught him. If we think abandoning or covering up our identity or traditions will help secure that new job or keep us in a certain relationship, we are repeating the same mistake our ancestors made in the days of the Greeks. We are abandoning the very values that enable us to be truly successful in the world. That is why the ultimate counter to the Hellenists were the Maccabees, because they had pride in their Judaism. Famously, the word Maccabee is an acronym for Mi Chamocha Ba'elim Adonai, who is like you among the gods Adonai. For they were proud of what they believed in and weren't afraid to pronounce it to the world. That's why we place our menorahs in the window of our homes, facing the world, to demonstrate our pride in being Jewish. Jewish pride is ultimately what saved our people then, and it is what is so desperately needed today. May we all be blessed with true success in our lives, and as we light our menorahs in the week ahead, let us reflect on the message of Hanukkah, of Jewish pride, the only thing which will ensure that the light of our Torah continues to shine in the hearts and homes of Jews throughout the world. May it be God's will. Ken Yehi Ratzon. Amen. Our service continues on page 586 with the Aleinu. Please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות אדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו כחמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובים מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורה
We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own.
The Artside list for this week: Julius Cohen, Bill Fay, Cy Horowitz, Tilly Shapiro, Kent Huckleroad, Marjorie Newark, Judith Spielberg, Ruth Vaccarino, Louis Goldberg, Gershon Levin, Zelda Zimberg, Richard Feldman, Jess Katzberg, Charles Wybeck, Ronald Bell, Sam Boren, Max Drucker, Rebecca Sachs, Samuel Abraham, Max Seidman, Miriam Urd, Joseph Field, Ida Gorin, Roy Leibrook, Maury Silver, Jack Van Ralt, Helen Miller, Melvin Sattler, and Jim Schutler. And the 30 days following the funeral: Sherry Mencher, Alan Solomon, Nettie Ephron, Ruby Goldberg, Jean Pearl, and Rachel Sipet. I practiced and I forget. Sipkiss.
If you are in the first week of mourning, please rise. If you're in the first 30 days, the first month in Shloshim, please rise. If you are within the first year of mourning, please rise. If you're observing a Yortzeit, the anniversary of the loved one's death, please rise. You may support our fellow congregants by standing with them. We are a community. You may remain seated if you wish. We join with our mourners on page 598 in the Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Israel, ba'agala uvisman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal, shemei dekudusha brichu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlomo Rabbah min shmaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say amen. You may be seated. Shabbat shalom again. A few important announcements about the week to come. First, next Friday and Saturday, we will be joining together with two sister congregations, Temple Beth Shalom of Santa Ana and Congregation B'nai Tzedek of Fountain Valley, for a joint Hanukkah celebration. As such, there will be no services here next Friday. We are trying to arrange for transportation to Fountain Valley, where we will have services at 6:30. We'll be leaving here around lunchtime in order to get there by 6:30. Actually, I looked it up on Google Maps, and they say we need to leave at 5. So we are trying to get one of those nice black buses like we had for High Holy Days. And we will meet here, but we'll send out a special email to let you know the details. After the service, there will be a latke dinner, so come hungry, but not too hungry, because I don't know how long the service will be. But the rabbis from the 3 synagogues are planning together. You know, you get 3 rabbis in a room and you know what happens, right? So it should be a lot of fun. So there will be no service here. If you can't make it in person to B'nai Tzedek, we will try and do Facebook Live. I don't know if they live stream their service or not. We will be giving them our Kaddish list, so if you have Yortzeit or you'll be saying Kaddish, they will read the names. Then Saturday morning, we will be here, all three synagogues here. There's a special musical event. We have a guest artist, Alan Goodis, who will be with us for the entire Shabbat. He will be here Saturday morning with our young children. If you have grandchildren, I don't think anybody has children of little kids' age, but if you have grandchildren, bring them and meet us downstairs at 9 o'clock for our B'yachad program with Alan Goodis. Then at 10 o'clock, the three rabbis will be leading services together. The cantor from Temple Beth Shalom will also be participating, and all four of them are chanting Torah, so that should be a lot of fun. Then there's a lunch. We are having a catered lunch right after services, so please join us. Then Saturday night, the party at Temple Beth Shalom in Santa Ana at 6:30. I think 6:30, right? Right. Tony's our representative on the planning committee. Great. Perfect. Now, in order to RSVP for any part of this event, do not call the temple office. You go to the Temple Beth Shalom website. You can call us for that website, but you go there and you make all your reservations on the TBS website. So it makes it nice and easy, all centralized, and then we move on from there. Right. You don't want me to ask them how many read their email, right? 2, 3, 4. We are going to send it again. We'll send it again. So please come support this community-wide event. We will be having a community event again for Purim, so that'll be fun too. Tuesday night is the first night of Hanukkah. Please light your menorahs. If you need directions, instructions on how to do so, I'm happy to help you out. I think that's enough for the week ahead. Let's get through that. There are some posters outside for upcoming events. Please take a look at that. We have some really great adult education in the next month. So, closing song, Gabby. Let me guess. I'll bet it's Adon Olam. Yeah, page 625. If you'd like to stand up and join arm in arm, become one big group, we'd love it. Adon